My name is Alara, and I'm 31 years old. For most of my life, I carried the weight of a toxic family dynamic that slowly eroded my sense of self. My mother, Helena, and my younger brother, Damon, have always played roles in that toxicity. I spent years questioning my worth, doubting my feelings, and bending over backward to prove that I deserved their love and support. But everything changed the night I was rushed into emergency surgery for acute appendicitis and peritonitis. It happened so suddenly. I remember collapsing in my apartment, the pain like a knife twisting through my insides. I was alone. Sonia, my girlfriend, was away on a business trip, and I couldn't reach my mother. The ambulance ride blurred into bright lights and frantic medical voices. When I came to, it was in a hospital bed, attached to IVs, monitors beeping around me. The doctors told me I was lucky to be alive. Had I waited another hour, it could have been fatal. That hospital bed became a turning point. As I lay there, vulnerable and alone, I started to see everything clearly. For once, I couldn't be the caretaker or the responsible one. And in that forced stillness, I began to reflect on just how much I had sacrificed for a family that never truly saw me. Growing up, my mother, Helena, had an uncanny way of making me feel like an outsider in my own home. She constantly dismissed my emotions, making light of my struggles and framing them as dramatic or selfish. I was expected to be the strong one, the one who figured things out on her own. Damon, on the other hand, could do no wrong. Damon was the golden child. When he dropped out of college, our mother said he was just finding his path. When he failed to keep a job or pay his bills, Helena swooped in with money and excuses. I, meanwhile, worked 2 jobs through college, took out loans when I couldn't make ends meet, and never once asked for help. I used to think I was being noble, taking the high road, but now I see it differently. I was groomed to accept neglect as normal, to see self-reliance as my only option, because asking for help made me weak in Helena's eyes. And Damon? He was groomed to believe the world owed him everything. I watched him stumble through life while I cleaned up the messes. Helena would call me in tears when Damon got into trouble, expecting me to fix things. And I did, because deep down I still hoped they'd finally appreciate me. That maybe, if I just did enough, they'd see my worth. But they never did. The truth came out not long after I returned home from the hospital. While recovering, I was forced to confront parts of my life I had long ignored, including my finances. I discovered inconsistencies in my accounts, missing statements, and money I couldn't trace. That's when Sonia encouraged me to dig deeper. We hired Remy, a brilliant and sharp-eyed attorney, to investigate. The findings were devastating. My college fund, which I believed had been depleted by tuition and living expenses, had been quietly siphoned off for years. My trust fund, a modest inheritance from my late grandmother, was nearly gone. The culprit? Damon. With Helena's help, he had accessed my accounts under the guise of family need. He used my money to fund one failed business venture after another. I felt betrayed in a way I can't describe. It wasn't just the money, it was the years of manipulation, the blatant favoritism, and the casual way Helena had handed over what was rightfully mine. They hadn't just stolen from me financially, they had robbed me of trust, of security, and of the future I had worked so hard to build. The confrontation was inevitable. I invited Helena and Damon over, laying out the bank statements, the legal findings, and the years of deception they had both taken part in. For once, I didn't let their guilt-tripping or emotional manipulation distract me. I stayed calm, factual, and firm. Helena tried to justify it, saying Damon needed help, that he was struggling, that I had always been stronger. Damon barely looked remorseful. He shrugged, muttered something about how family supports each other, as if that excused the theft. I made it clear I was done being the scapegoat. I demanded a full confession and repayment. Remy was with me, backing every word with legal documentation. Sonia sat beside me, unwavering in her support. For once, I wasn't alone. Helena signed the confession, legally binding, notarized and filed. Damon was livid but powerless. The funds would be repaid in installments, overseen by Remy's firm. More importantly, I severed the financial umbilical cord. No more joint accounts, no more access. Emotionally, the fallout was harder. Helena painted me as ungrateful to the extended family. Damon ghosted me completely, but I didn't waver. I had spent too long letting guilt dictate my choices. With Sonia and Remy in my corner, I finally felt what it was like to be supported, respected, and believed. The days that followed were painful but freeing. I grieved the idea of the family I had wanted them to be. I let go of the illusion that someday they would change. Instead, I focused on building something new. Sonia and I moved into a new place, one that felt entirely mine. I took control of my finances, set boundaries, and started therapy. I no longer answered calls from Helena or Damon unless I chose to. I was no longer available for emotional labour or rescue missions. Every step forward felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. I began to write again, travel, laugh more. The tightness in my chest that had been there since childhood began to lift. I wasn't just surviving anymore, I was living. This is my story, one of betrayal but also of resilience. I took back what was mine, not just in dollars but in dignity. I stood up to the people who taught me to doubt my worth and proved, first and foremost to myself, that I am enough. I don't know if Helena or Damon will ever change, but that's no longer my responsibility. What I do know is that I'm building a future rooted in truth, boundaries, and love. And for the first time in a long time, I feel free. Rebuilding isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet mornings with Sonia, sipping coffee while sunlight spills across our kitchen. Sometimes it's long walks through the park, feeling the earth steady beneath my feet. I started working part-time with a non-profit focused on financial literacy for young women. It felt like healing in motion, using what I had endured to help others protect themselves. Remy encouraged me to look into investing, and I finally began rebuilding the trust fund, this time solely under my name. We drew up a will, a living trust, all the legal protections I should have had from the start. There was power in knowing my future was now in my own hands. I reconnected with old friends I had lost touch with during the years I spent consumed by my family's needs. We laughed, cried, remembered who I was before all the weight settled on my shoulders. With Sonia's encouragement, I even started therapy sessions with a trauma-informed counsellor. Piece by piece, I was building something solid, real. Helena tried a few times to contact me, each message laced with guilt and nostalgia. But I didn't engage. I no longer needed closure from people incapable of giving it. I had made peace with the silence. As I write this, I feel strong, not because I never fall apart, but because I know how to put myself back together. My story isn't just about surviving betrayal. It's about reclaiming power, defining love on my own terms, and refusing to let the past define me. The scars from my surgery are still there, small and pale now, but they remind me that sometimes the body knows before the mind does. That moment of physical collapse was also my emotional reckoning. I don't know where Damon is now. Maybe still chasing some business fantasy. Maybe not. I hope he finds whatever it is he's looking for, but I won't be a casualty on that journey. What I do know is that this chapter of my life is mine alone to write, and this time I'm writing it with honesty, courage, and a deep sense of self-worth I never thought I'd feel. This is not just my healing. It is my becoming.